What up, guys? Thank you for joining. What a fucking week did we have? Oh my God. Uh, Honestly, we went in long, uh, but we did not expect this to fucking happen. Like the monthly open held, and we just went fucking blasting, like all gas, no fucking brakes. But it was definitely an interesting week. And something well, a lot happened actually aside from price action, but a lot happened in terms of macro. And yeah, so we're pretty much going to follow the same standard schedule that we do week after week. First I'm going to talk about macro, what happened last week and what to look forward for this coming week. And we're gonna chart some BTC, some ETH, some SOL, look at the levels that need to be held, if we want to continue this uptrend and what to look for, right? So right now we are August 23. So keep in mind that this is the last week of the month we're entering. Um, we're gonna be entering September very soon. So yeah, let's take a look at what happened. So as you guys saw my post about the Fed minutes that we saw, they were more hawkish than what the market had wanted, and pretty much they were debating that it's like they were debating, is it gonna hold or are we gonna do another hike? Like again, as I emphasize, rate cuts are not on the table, right? So the talk was, how do we keep inflation down or cool it down? What is the 2% target for this inflation? When can we realistically hit it was the question, and they have 2028. So about 2 years from now, they're expecting to hit that 2% target. And remember, guys, that 2% target that they're talking about is the PCE report that is going to come out this week. All right, I'll get to that in a bit. The other set of news that happened last week were bonds. Bonds, again, if you guys read my Substack, I've talked about bonds and the importance of it and why we need to pay attention to it. So bonds hit 5.34%. The 30-year hit 5.34%, which was the highest since 2007. So what happened was the US Treasury then doubled their bond buybacks to calm the market down, right? And this is not QE, right? I just want to emphasize, this is not QE. This is like QE light. This is like autistic QE, right? This is QE's bastard child, right? It's not really QE. QE is when the Fed starts printing money to expand their balance sheet, and that increases the liquidity in the market and so forth, right? So this is a different process, but again, it's pretty good news in a way. It's liquidity support because the government does not want long-term borrowing costs to really get out of control, right? So indirectly, when the bonds came down, the rates as well came down, right? So that's why they didn't do a rate hike in the past few months when it came to the Fed, because bonds were actually going up and they were indirectly increasing rates for everyone. So now when we look at it, again, I gave you guys my input and my analysis on what I think the next FOMC is going to be like. I'm still on the boat. I don't think they're going to do a rate hike. They're going to leave the rates unchanged. That's my opinion, and based on what I read on the FOMC minutes, this is what I think is going to happen, right? Um, so now what's happening is the government's debt is indirectly really competing with the AI boom for pretty much the same capital. They both need, one needs to reduce the yields, the other one needs to borrow money to keep expanding and whatnot. So, and there's like a little competition between the two. Keep in mind, guys, you guys are seeing like Nvidia is trying to borrow like hundreds of billions of dollars. So both are like in borrowing at the same time, right? The biggest I would say the biggest risk to the AI boom are the rates. Like the cost of borrowing is the biggest risk to the AI boom, in my opinion. So yeah, this is something to keep an eye on. Bonds, keep an eye on them, right? So again, we saw Walmart's earnings come out, Home Depot, and all these retailers and whatnot. What it showed was okay, Walmart had its slowest sales growth in 6 years. Home Depot did okay, but people are doing more. Like what Home Depot reported is that people are doing repairs more than renovations. The discount retailers did better than Walmart and Home Depot, and that's a sign that the consumer is this is like what that tells me is the consumer is slowing, right? They're slowing their spending, they're more cautious on their spending. It's not collapsing, but they're actually trading down and delaying as much as they can. So as Home Depot reported, they're not renovating. They're just doing repairs, so they're delaying those expensive things that they need to do. And as I said, the discount retailers did better than Walmart and Home Depot, which tells you that they are trading down, right? They're actually being very cautious of where they're spending their money and trying to find the best deals. Housing is still getting smoked. Single family housing uh, fell almost 10%, while the semiconductor production rose. So um, we're actually, it's kind of funny because you got housing has high rates while the AI boom barely notices them, right? So that is pretty funny to think about. Equities, when we look at the S&P and the Nasdaq, both fell for the week. The bond pressure really hit them hard. Um, Oil came back around. We saw what Brent finish around $94, gained about what 6% for the week, give or take. Again, as I said, we need oil below $90, right? Oil below $90 can cool down inflation, but when it's above $90, that's when it becomes an inflation problem. Okay? The other story, sleeper story, and I don't think the market is really reacting to this anymore, but it's something to keep an eye on. The US and Canada trade talks have officially collapsed, right? The US put 50%, I think they put 50% tariffs on about 20 billion of Canadian goods, and Canada is doing the same on September 8th, and they're going to add tariff inflation on top of energy inflation while the rates are already high. So this is a story that people are really brushing under the rug. I think everyone is assuming that tariff news are no longer a nightmare, no longer scary, but this is actually what happened this week. But based, I guess it was ignored because prices, regardless, still went up, right? So this is something to keep an eye on, in my opinion. And this week, what matters is Wednesday is going to be the most important day. Wednesday we got the July PCE, we got Q2 GDP revision, we got corporate profits and Nvidia earnings after the close. Nvidia earnings last year around this time did a quick pump and then it fully retraced the pump and went even lower. I don't know if you guys recall, it was around Jackson Hole time as well. I think Jackson Hole is coming up as well, so it's gonna be an interesting week. So PCE is the main macro number, as I emphasized. That's actually the inflation target that they want to hit. The 2% that they keep talking about is the PCE. It's not the CPI, it's not the PPI, it's the PCE. All right. So hopefully we get cooled numbers for the PCE, and if they do, you know, I think yields will look better. I think Nvidia, again, going back to Nvidia, Nvidia is probably the biggest equity event as always. The real question, people are not wondering about the revenue anymore. People are expecting revenue to be good. So they're more paying attention to the margins and whatnot. Um, and I think today they released some news that NVIDIA customers are being reportedly, again, being told that some AI server prices could rise more than 15% because memory costs are exploding. So, again, within the AI sector, you got two issues. They're paying attention to the cost of borrowing money, but as well, they have their own inflation problem, right? When it comes to memory costs and whatnot. So, after all of that comes out, we got the Jackson Hole, which runs to Thursday all the way to Saturday. And this is Warsh's first Jackson Hole as Fed chair. And watch whether he pushes back on the market or gives it breathing room, right? If you gotta really pay attention to not only what he says, but how he says it. So again, someone can, when someone speaks, there's actual multiple definitions to it. It's not only the words that he says have a definition, but the tone and the volume have their own definition too. So you gotta be very cautious on what he says. So if he sounds hawkish after sticky PCE, the bonds can pump again. So pay attention to what he says, and keep an eye on oil. You want, like, for us to continue going up, we want oil back below $90. If it starts pushing towards $100, then again the inflation trade is back on. All right, so that's all for macro in terms of what happened last week and what's going to happen this week. Um, what happened in crypto last week? So we saw the really, I think this was the biggest weekly candle we've ever seen on Bitcoin. By the way, I'm not 100% sure, but I can't remember when was the last time we pumped almost 20,000 in 1 week, right? So the BTC ETFs took in about, I think, total net of 1.9 billion. ETH ETF took in about 700 million, and their combined flows was the strongest since October of of 1010. Ironically, right? So this is like the first time where we see, uh like, not the first time, but it's been a while where price and actual institutional flows moved together, right? And as I said for a while now, BTC is now a macro asset. So BTC does not need a narrative anymore on why it's going to pump. We don't need a narrative. BTC is now a macro asset. It is tied to the economy. So when the Treasury bonds announcement happened, it helped crypto. Yields dropped, the dollar weakened, liquidity assets pumped, BTC, gold, crypto, whatever, all of that benefited. BTC basically traded like a liquidity hedge. It is a macro asset now, right? The relegation also turned bullish. The SEC finally proposed a new crypto framework. They're pushing the Clarity Act again. They talked about bringing hyper liquid and on-chain perp markets and all that shit into the US legally. This is all amazing news. Like that one specifically for hyperliquid is actually fucking amazing. And it's actually so good for all the shit that we have been farming. Especially, again, I posted in the group chat, the Nado hyperliquid is really bullish, but I think people are really underestimating how bullish this is for Kraken and Nado, because they have been doing everything legally and going, crossing their T's and all that type of shit, making sure they're on point. and they are now looking at the HIP-3 deployer. These guys are not fucking around. And they, as I said, we are really entering a phase where perp dexes might become the main trading point. And I'm just thinking very, very long term. I'm not even thinking about the cycle, but I'm thinking about like 5, 10 years from now. Perp dexes will be, I think, to a big threat to big brokerages because we right now have been trading for a while. We have all these platforms that we have been using, but the new kids on the block that are gonna join the market in the future, they don't want a KYC. They don't. They just want to be onboarded as easily as possible, and nothing's easier than a perp dex. To be honest, there's nothing that's easier than joining a perp dex. You put your fucking money in the wallet and you are already in, and you are trading crypto, equities, and commodities all in one spot. Honestly, this is the future of trading. So instead of, a lot of people thought they were gonna ban hyperliquid, and I was never on that boat. I told you guys for a while they are going to find a way to relegate this casino and bring it to America because there is money on the table here and they don't want to fuck it up. There's a difference in the mindset in this administration. In the past, they've always shut down crypto projects and coming into America. But today that changed, and well, in the present form, in the future that changed. They're now looking at it as how can we bring it into America and make America the number one crypto capital of the world, right? So now that was actually very fucking amazing news, to be honest with you. So in terms of crypto this week, pay attention to the PCE, Nvidia earnings, Jackson Hole, oil, bonds, and the dollar. Again, I know that's a lot, but BTC is a macro asset, so going forward, these things matter. So again, pay attention to the PCE, Nvidia, Jackson Hole, oil, bonds, and the dollar, right? All those matter more than crypto, most of crypto headlines. As well, pay attention to the ETF flows. We want to see continuation of the flows. BTC, we're going to talk about the levels, but I don't want to see BTC go back below 70K, to be honest with you. Holding this breakout matters more. But we have Ghost Month. That's the issue. We are in Ghost Month, and we always get a return to the base type of move. And I'll talk about that in a second. All right. So, just a quick recap that last week the bonds became enough of a problem that the Treasury had to step in to prevent another 2007 2008 because they reached 2007 levels, right? Oil, pay attention, it's back above $90. The Fed is still worried about inflation. The consumer is slowing down based on Walmart, Home Depot, and other discounted retailers' revenues, well, earnings and what do you call it? Their earnings and other financials, right? Tariffs between America and Canada are increasing again. So these are something you pay attention to. I'm not saying go full bullish retard, but until we clear some actual levels, the higher time frame will actually tell us, like the weekly chart will tell us what's happening. And this week we get the three big tests at once. Again, PCE, Nvidia, Jackson Hole. So yeah, watch out for your risk. That's what happened in terms of macro. Now let's look at some charts. Let's mark some levels, bros. Let's look at some charts over here. Let me make some new lines. New lines. All right. So BTC has pretty much like once we cleared on Wednesday the 19th, the 4 hour trend, it just fucking exploded without a fucking pullback. It's pretty crazy when I think about all of this happened on a fucking Wednesday. Really. And honestly, we were like so excited over here because we were like long from 63 300 give or take, and we're like, yeah, we're at 64 and a half, 65. We're so fucking happy and all that stuff, and then we took profit on the way up and fucking closed it like over here. We're like, yeah, it has to retrace, but I fucking missed the rest of this move because I honestly I did not expect that. I did not expect us to just blow like that, but nonetheless, um, we still have opportunities, and I think what do you call it? I think the 30 over time, the 34 EMA is going to cross, keep going up, and it's gonna come to like 74 and a half, give or take. But in general, I would want this level to hold on the 4 hour, and when I come down to the hourly, you guys can see it better that if we were to get a pullback, the 100 MA on the 1 hour is where I would really want to see it hold. So because the trend is like the 4 hour can't give us a really clear signal on where we want to see it pull back. I think asking for a deep pullback is a mistake. So I had to come down to the hourly and see the trend better. But yeah, 74 and a half is where I would put the 4 hour that I want to see personally hold, right? Um, Now, in terms of the 12 hour, I would have to go with the 13 EMA on the 12 hour. And then when I come down, that is where the current 34 EMA is. Now, we don't want to see a deep pullback. I don't want to see a deep pullback. If you want, like, when I say that, I mean in terms of actual seeing a strong continuation into the trend, I don't want to see a strong pullback. But at the same time, like, let's pull up BTC here for you guys. We see BTC's price is still fairly low, but the OI funding that we're seeing is unbelievably already high. So we are near the peak of our funding, weighted funding at the very least. Let's look at the open interest. Open interest is at 55 billion. It's still halfway to 1010's level, right? But I think you would want to pay attention. Like the open interest on BTC can actually double from here, but you want to pay attention once we get close to the 100 billion in open interest, and that's when you actually, sorry, not 100 billion, I'm reading it wrong. The open interest on 1010 was, or close to 1010 was almost 100 billion. Right now our open interest is at 55 billion. You would want to pay attention to the open interest once it reaches what do you call it, 65 billion, give or take. All right, so we may get one more squeeze out of this to the top of this 80 to 83 $1,000, right? So on the daily, what I want to see hold for this to continue is the EMA, the daily EMA. That is so critical right now. Right now, we're above the 300 MA on the daily. This is big. But ultimately, when you come down to the weekly, it is this that matters the most. If we can close above the weekly 50 MA, that is your signal that we are going to actually possibly, well, more than likely resume the bull trend on a higher time frame. And it's such an easy MA to follow. I'll show you guys um, it better. When we're above the 50 MA on the weekly, BTC performs better. Well, it's technically an uptrend at that point, but you guys get the drift, right? So over here, 2015 cycle, once we cleared it, we went up. Once we cleared the COVID dump and we got it, we went up. And same here, 50 MA. It's very simple. 50 MA on the weekly is your source. And if we get above it, we close above it, and we claim it as our support, we will move. Possibly, I see a move to 100K at that point, 100, 105K. The question is, at that point, can we clear that? Can we clear this level on the monthly, right? That has been the issue that we haven't been able to hold, as you guys can see here. Every time we tap here, we had one little deviation, we came back and closed down. But as I said, if we can get a weekly close above the 50 MA, I see a move to 100, 105K. At that point, that's where the monthly needs to come in, and we need to close above it. I think if we close above here on the monthly, it won't be just another deviation. I think it will be a break to at least 150, sorry, 150, 170K, right? So this is how I'm paying attention to it. Right now, you gotta be cautious. You gotta be cautious because we're close to that resistance point, right? I think if we get to the 82, 83K, a lot of people will be taking profits. I certainly will be taking profits on any long that I am in. I suggest you do the same, right? If you think that there are no pullbacks, pullbacks are very, very possible. So now, that's the 4 hour, 12 hour, and daily levels that I'm paying attention to. Where are we now on the 3 day? The 3 day, we cleared that resistance level that I was talking about for a very long time. All right. So now, where do I want to see it hold? One, I want to see this hold on the 3 day. This, well, let me change the colors of it for you guys. So now, this was the ghost month pump. Now, I did not expect the ghost month pump to go this high. And as you guys know, we could, like, we're not taking into this consideration over here. All right. We may continue here. But what if this is again the 50 MA level? If we reject over here, we could print what do you call it? A double top. And we did print a lower low here. So if we print a lower top and we actually reject and we clear these levels, like, okay, let's say the 200 EMA on the week, on the daily, does not hold, and we come back here, we really need this spot to hold up. All right. So at least, okay, let's say we rejected here, we did do the double top or whatever, but on the way down, at least we can print our very first higher low, because right now we're running on lower lows, and technically this is still a lower high. So now if we reject here, we would print a double top. This is where it becomes crucial that a higher low needs to print, because right now we printed a lower low. This is where it matters. Are we going to continue? Are we going to go higher? Are we gonna print a double top, or are we gonna print a higher high? What are we going to do, or are we gonna pull back from here? These are very important questions. But what I can tell you now is we fucked the Bears. We absolutely fucked the Bears. We liquidated every single dollar that they fucking have right now, right? And this is why okay, when it comes to my trading, this is why I really look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour time frame for me is very important, right? This is my trigger, my main trigger for swing shorts or swing longs. And I said to you guys, what I saw in the 4 hour before this pump looked like a long opportunity, even though it went against my own rules or whatever. But that's what I saw, and I took it. I could have done better. It is what it is. I'm not salty about it. I actually made good money. So take what you can get. But again, these levels right now are what's important. We got, I wouldn't open along exactly here, but it's either we continue moving to the resistance point, or we pull back into support to continue to the resistance point. The support levels, as I said, for BTC, they have to hold if we want to see continuation. If we come back and close the daily below the 200 EMA, we fucked up. That was a trap. We're going to revisit these lows, and we pray that that actually holds as support. All right. So this is how I'm pretty much looking at BTC. And yeah, I'm cautious, and but at the same time, I think um, do I okay, I know, see, a lot of people ask me this week, do I think the bottom is in? Do I think the bottom is in? To be honest with you, it's hard to say, but I'm still going to stick to my plan of Q4. I did, as I showed you guys, I did deploy some spot into on-chain memes. I already had some spot into hype and whatnot. So pretty much that was essentially what I had in spot. As not, I'm not fully deployed in spot, and I'm not rushing to it. Right. Um, this move reminded me very much of what do you call it? Before 1010, when we had a really big, what was it? Just this end of September, we went from 108 to what do you call it? 126, and we just didn't have any fucking pullbacks, and that's what this move kind of reminds me of. So again, the momentum, um we need to wait and see what happens, but there's no bear devs on the 12 hour or the daily yet. There's only a small bear dev on the 4 hour, which makes me think we could see one more move up. But if we move up with weak momentum and weak volume, expect a pullback to start from there. All right. So this is where I am with BTC. It's either we tap resistance or we tap the support. But right now, I feel like we're midway through a move. So if you are already along from the bottom, I would say wait it out and see what happens. Especially, but you should have taken some profit. If you were long from the bottom, you should be taking some profit and setting up some stops or whatever. Um, that's in profit as well. All right. So that's what I have for BTC. Let's look at some ETH. Let me actually post this for you guys. To keep an eye on it. Now let's look at some ETH. Again, guys, by the way, ETH out of the top three majors um, was the best performer, right? And I keep telling you guys, I have a feeling in my fucking balls that we are entering an ETH cycle, okay? Everything that's being built is being built on ETH. Um, you got Hype EVM, you got Lighter, you got this, you got that, you got this infrastructure, blah 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 infrastructure. All of it being done on ETH. Indirectly, this is bullish for ETH. I really think we are entering an ETH cycle. It's been a while since we had an ETH cycle. It's been fucking, the last ETH cycle we had was fucking 5 years ago. 5 years, that's half a decade. I don't think people are really processing in what half a decade actually means, right? But we are entering a cycle, I believe, an ETH cycle. So you want to have a popular, like, for you to actually benefit from an ETH cycle, you want to have make bets on ETH infrastructure, obviously bets on ETH, and bets on ETH top memes and things that could really blow up. You got like Pepe did really well, I believe. Let me pull it up for you guys. Like Pepe did really well, and whenever, like, look at that. Pepe pumped 77 fucking percent. I keep telling you guys, if you ever want to long ETH, look at Pepe. You this is not a low cap, right? This is a a big cap meme. But ETH, sorry, Pepe pumped 77% on the week, while ETH did 35%. So it did pretty much double what ETH did. It's kind of crazy to think about that. ETH pumped like fucking 35% in one fucking week. Holy fucking shit, right? Let's look at Solana. Fuck, Solana pumped 36%, and Solana is the smaller cap. Solana is smaller than ETH. ETH was the fucking shining star. All right, so now let's look at it. Let's have the EMAs and MAs. I want the 100 MA, 89 EMA to hold, mainly on the 4 hour, right? Let me change the color for you guys. I want this trend to hold. And by the way, I think ETH has a move to, like, see, it could push up to like 2,700 before coming back down. But again, ETH printed a higher high. Look at that. Look at that. ETH printed a higher high on the 3 day. Printed a higher high on the daily. This is beautiful. And let's see how it closes today. And might print a higher high on the weekly. So again, this is exactly what you want to see when it comes to ETH in general. ETH pumped and rejected off the 300 MA, 200 MA, 200 EMA on the weekly. All right. So if you ever want to trade, you got to drop down to the hourly 4 hour to find your entry and exit. But yeah, this is the 4 hour level that I have in mind. In terms of the 12 hour, this is where I would put the 12 hour. Sorry. When I drop down, it's roughly between the 34 EMA and 50 EMA on the 4 hour. That I want to see ETH hold. All right, so if ETH starts closing below this level, we'll probably take some of this out. over here, retrace some of it before going back up. Okay, now on the daily, it's gonna be no different than BTC. The 200 EMA has to hold. Okay, this is the level that I don't want to see us close below. We want to continue being bullish. This is where I want to see it hold. Right now, just like BTC, ETH is above the 300 MA. I did not expect us to just break through it so casually without any real resistance. Like we just like, hey, we're gonna melt through it, right? And that's exactly what happened. We melted through it. Okay. Um, coming back to the what do you call it, the 3-day time frame is very similar to BTC. Let me change the color for you guys, but this is really the level that I'm eyeing. It's pretty big, but I don't want to see what do you call it, ETH come down below these levels. So ETH right now again printed a higher high, which is great. Now, if we get pullbacks, these are the levels that I'm eyeing. It's very, very simple. We are literally, this is the 1 week, 200 EMA, 200 MA, 300 MA. Let's look at ETH as trend as well. Look, ETH did not reclaim the 50 MA on the weekly. And it's very similar to BTC. Let me just take this out of the way for you guys. 1 second. Let me post this in the chat. Okay. So now what? Let me pull out the weekly here, more clean. I want to show you guys something. Just like BTC. When we get above the 50, we're in for a run. Okay? So ETH is right on the 50. So this is why you don't really need to rush so fucking hard that you feel like you're missing out. You're not. Okay? You're not missing out. But yeah, very simple levels to understand on ETH. If we get a pullback, don't be surprised by it. We didn't have a pullback all fucking week. Now, if you guys recall, I know some of you guys that are listening in are in the group chat, like my Telegram chat, and I was telling you guys, Soul breaking 86, this level over here will send us to 100. We went straight to 102 and rejected it. All right. I've been talking about the 86 level for quite some time. I've been mentioning that there's a bitch of a resistance, but once we break above it, that is where we actually go to 100. Okay, this is where we saw the breakdown, and when we get above it properly, we shot up. And when we come back a little bit here as well, we're now at very, very big resistance. This is a resistance point that we have had some issues passing by. Now let's see what happens. Let's mark the levels. Let me talk about some levels here for you guys on what I am paying attention to. By the way, this was a huge liquidation event that happened. Luckily, I was sleeping soundly with no positions. I woke up like any normal day and I took my morning shit peacefully with no liquidation. Honestly, that was beautiful. Felt fucking beautiful to actually be able to go in there to wake up and actually not get liquidated. But doesn't this, as I said, guys, when I don't know if you guys recall, some of you do, but in September of last year, I said something is off with the price action. This was before 1010. BTC, like for example, the liquidation event happened here, but BTC only went from 78 and a half to 76 and a half. It was only a 2K move, right? It wasn't that big of a move. It was a 2%, a 2.7% down, but it fucking liquidated a lot of people. A lot. So this is why you have to be cautious. Same with my like XMR long. That's the only long that I have open. I have a clear invalidation level. If 415 is gone on XMR, then I believe it loses the trend, and that's why I would get out. But anyways, I'll talk about XMR in a bit. Let's mark some levels here. 100 MA, same level as BTC and ETH that I want to see hold. This is very, because if we get below the 90s again, and we start filling this wick at 87, we're probably, well, that's the 12-hour support roughly around here, give or take. Okay, again, very similar chart structure and whatnot. Well, very similar EMA and MA levels. I'm sorry, to BTC and ETH. Right? It's not hard. It's just about being prepared, really. And because we have the 12-hour around the daily 200 EMA, I would probably want to see the daily 13 EMA hold. And again, that is a nice SNR level around here. Look at that. So Sol again did not print a higher high. Neither did BTC, right? They did not print that yet. And Sol tried, but it got rejected and sold off almost instantly. Sol needs to close the daily above 97 to print a higher high. So that's important to keep in mind. The other thing, as I said, ETH is the only one that printed a higher high on the daily structure, even on the 3 day and yada yada and so forth. So that's why I keep saying for a very long period of time, ETH looks better chart wise than BTC and Sol for the time being. And I mentioned to you guys, don't be surprised to see Sol print a fucking $10 candle or whatever. And again, we really went from like 87 to 100 quick times. Quick times. You didn't even realize it. And then we retested it over here. But anyways, these are the levels. In terms of the 3 day that I'm really paying attention to, I don't want to see us lose this low over here. All right. Now, when we look at the weekly, look at that. It's not the same as ETH. we tested the 50 EMA. We didn't test the 100 MA or the 200 MA or the 200 EMA, and we're struggling. We're like right on the 34 EMA on the weekly and whatnot. So we still again did are not closing with a higher high. That's something important to make note of. So it's more like this is where we need a weekly close, really. This is where we need to see a close. All right, so these are the BTC ETH sold charts. Again, if we get into these support levels, you may want to bid it for a long. If we get into the resistance levels and we moving up on weak momentum, weak volume, that's very small, a lot less than last week, that's actually your signal to close your longs, in my opinion, and wait for the pullback. Because September, I believe, has historically been red. Historically, for the most part, September is red. And we are entering the last week, right, of August, and then we're going to enter September. I think at the start of September, I'm going to be more cautious with my longs, and until I have a better idea of what is actually going to happen. So this is how I'm looking at uh, BTC Sol. If you guys want me to look at any coins, drop it in the comments. I'm gonna look at them for you guys. But yeah, these are the three majors I'm paying attention to. I entered a XMR long. Let's talk about that for a second. So XMR. XMR right now is didn't okay. XMR, as you guys can see, is in the clear uptrend on the 4 hour. I kind of like how it's tapping all these EMAs and MAs and respecting it and grinding up higher, but it still didn't give us a really blow off the top strong move. And again, you guys recall XMR always pumps last with Zcash. Zcash has been pumping before XMR, and then XMR catches up. And we saw that at the end of 2025. Um, like, for example, January, first half of January is when XMR made a new all-time high to 800, and it was like on 1010, for example, it was not impacted. It went from 350 to 270 and then quickly back up, just like Zcash, right? So there a narrative that the market is talking about privacy coins, but in my opinion, I think the narrative of privacy coins is fucking retarded. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me that okay, you're trying to push privacy coins while you are someone that uses AI and continuously feeds it your data. So there's a model like after, like, you get what I mean? Like you're someone that's not into privacy himself, and you're trying to push that narrative. The world is transitioning from a non-private world, from a private world to a non-private world. This is the transition. No one, in fact, no one actually cares about privacy. That's the truth. So the ones that actually want to push the narratives of, oh, the world needs privacy is fucking LARPing and coping. That's the truth. We're not entering that world anymore. The private world is gone. But the market will market, and the market is irrational, in my opinion. And in my opinion, if they're gonna pump it, they're gonna pump it, right? There's really nothing you can do about it. And at the same time, there I had the opportunity to talk to some people that are really into these coins and have done very well. And it's so funny, they all came to the same conclusion of there's money to be made. I respect that. Like, there is money to be made. Make your fucking money, but make sure you take profit, right? So, as I mentioned to you guys, privacy coins pumping is usually what do you call it? The last thing you see before there's a really big complex pullback across the board, right? This is why a lot of OGs don't want to see privacy coins pumping. Privacy coins pumping actually, I can mark it many times. Like, for example, this what do you call it? XMR's top was before, just before we had a huge pullback across the market, huge pullback, right? And you can even mark it on the Zcash chart where before every single pump, big pump Zcash had, the market pulled back massively. All right, massively. But right now, XMR on the 4 hour is respecting the trend so far. So I want to see that hold. All right. The 12 hour, again, there is some bearish divergences, but the momentum is slowly holding up. I want to see that continue. I want to see the daily right now actually looks like pump fun before it pumped like really hard. I'll show you guys. So this was pump fun. Look at this part of it. So as it broke out of the trend over here. See that? And over here, it was printing some bear devs, whatever, but we just continue, right? Now look at the XMR chart. We're just breaking out of the daily. I don't think we're just going to fully retrace that move just yet. I think once we clear the main point that we need to actually clear on XMR is $500. Once XMR clears $500 like strong with strength and proper acceptance, we will run it back to over here. We will see around 630 to potentially 800, potentially even a new all-time high. Because again, things can get irrational with these privacy coins that we're seeing. And at the moment, when I look at the EMA trend on the daily, it's on a bullish trend. The 12-hour, 4-hour bullish trend. The 3-day, again, it's reclaimed the trend. So this is something good. It came back to the 200 EMAs, respected, then reclaimed the trend. And on the weekly, it again reclaimed the trend. So, and on the monthly, it reclaimed the trend. So again, from the 4-hour and onwards, it has reclaimed the trend properly. And which is why I'm like, okay, based on that, hopefully we see a continuation. $500, as I said, is resistance, but if we can clear $500 on XMR, I don't see why we can't go back close to like the 600, 800 mark, give or take, if not maybe even a new all-time high, right? So again, going back here, a lot of people are talking about, like, for example, there is Zcash is about 14.7 billion market cap, and Monero XMR is at 8 billion. Now, let me see here. It's still loading. I don't want to see. Zcash and render. Yeah, I'll do it in a second. I don't know why CoinGecko's being slow today. Not letting me compare. All right, so XMR pumped to 13 billion in January. And when that happened, I believe There was a Zcash. So yeah, no, this is yeah. So you see here, as XMR was making the new all-time high and moving, Zcash crashed back down to what do you call it? At the XMR top, Zcash went to 6.7 billion and it went pretty much lost 50% while XMR overtook it, right? Now, for crypto OGs, actual OGs, they know the real privacy coin is XMR. Everyone knows that. This is the real, what do you call it, privacy coin. No privacy coin is supposed to get an ETF. Let me make that clear. You're not supposed to get an ETF. There's so many things like you're not supposed to do for a privacy coin, and one of them is not an ETF. The other thing, actually, many people don't know this, but if you want to mine Zcash with Digital Foundry, you actually have to KYC. So it's KYC, it's privacy for but with KYC. This is the thing. So right now, Zcash is where it's at, but the trade where they flip has always been happening. It always happens, right? This is where it's at. So when the Zcash pullback happens, it could lead to an XMR pump. We saw it last time, and XMR's chart looks good. So I want to see if it will respect the trend for higher. Okay. You guys want me to look at the Zcash chart? Zcash made a new all-time high. So on the hourly, the momentum is already shrinking while it's making this all-time high. Like, so you need to, like, I wouldn't top long this. On the 4 hour, I would wait for the close and see how it happens. But again, if the next 4 hour close is red, it's going to be another bear dev. So it's already there where on the lower time frames printing their bear devs, but it's not there on the 12 hour or the daily. So this is why I would not recommend at the moment a short. You're going to need to be a little more cautious and careful before entering this short. Now, the way we're going to see this weekly close is very important because again, if the way this weekly closes, if next week it closes red, it is a confirmed mega bear dev on the weekly. All right, now this monthly, the way it's going to close, again, it could print another bear dev. All right, so this is something you need to pay attention to and be cautious about. There are theories floating around right now in terms of the market. Some people expect us to keep going up until the end of this year. And then at the end of this year, the market actually will top. And then 2027 is when we see the real fucking drawdown across the market to like 30, 40K. Okay, so this is why everyone's saying that, okay, we're going to go to like 100K and then we see the real pullback. I don't know. The theory behind that, I don't want to write it off either, because they are going based off what they see with Trump. Many people are not taking into account that Trump gave us a 2 year bear market, and he has done it before, like 2018, 2019, and until halfway of 2020, when his elections were coming up, was a bear market. This fucker gave us a 2 year and a half bear market. Keep that in mind. He does not mind doing that. And again, their theory is he's going to pump the market now into his midterms because he wants to obviously win. So he needs to pump the market. So again, that all of that kind of makes sense to me, but I don't want to write off any theory. I'm just going to keep going with my plan, and I'm going to buy in Q4 if it continues the way it's continuing. All right. Now, render. So again, this is actually a sleeping giant, in my opinion. If there was ever an AI play, it would be render. And they're still building, by the way. They're doing a lot of shit, but open their page. Let me see here. Give me a second. But yeah, render is going to close. You see here the momentum with a big bullish divergence. Big. I'm just pulling out the render news. So again, a little bit about render. It's a decentralized network for GPUs. So you can pretty much generate a 3D rendering and all that type of stuff. Like you can rent out GPU power to do all your rendering, to do all of that stuff, like artwork and videos and all that stuff. That because the cost of computing is going up. They already told you. The cost of GPUs is going to go up. So this is, and the cost of GPUs is going to get so expensive. Not everyone is going to have a good GPU at their home. All right, so a lot of people are going to be using services and things like that in the future, like render, in my opinion. And this is where it actually could happen. Right. So now when I look at the chart, I see a nice opportunity. Again, as I've mentioned, the what do you call it? The bull dev right here is pretty fucking strong. And if render breaks out of the trend line, it'll be fucking strong. In my opinion. Now I'm looking at the EMAs and MAs on the weekly. We're not bullish. On the 3-day, we're trying to reclaim the 34. So this is still very, very early. On the daily, we rejected the 200 MA and we're trying to fill the gap now. So once we get above 172, I think we're going to actually break this trend line, right? So right now, render is only on a real bullish trend is on the 4-hour. All right. But again, this is one of my AI plays for this coming cycle, because it's like if I want to take a bet on AI, I think render would make more sense to me, based on what they're trying to do. And it's a very old project that's been here for quite some time. Let me, and I think the majority of their supply is already out, and you need to buy their token to actually use their services. So looking at their supply, yeah, majority of it is actually out. About 97% of it is already out, give or take. Because they have a total, yeah, they have a total supply of 533 million tokens, and 518 million are circulating right now. All right. Again, this is just a long-term play, spot play for me. I'm gonna be patient with it. I added it to my spot list for you guys, and I think once it clears this trend line, CT is gonna be paying more attention to it. It came back to a higher time frame support, as you guys can see here, and it keeps holding. It didn't even come close to its 1010 wick, which I told you guys. Projects that don't come close to their 1010 wick are bullish projects, and Render's one of them. It didn't even come close. It didn't even come close. All right. So this is one again for the long term. Aster, let me look at that. Again, so talking about Aster is very simple. Um, by the way, this is actually pretty. If we, you can almost long Aster here as long as it doesn't close below this daily. Um, Aster is okay. I keep telling you guys about the perp dexes that I'm bullish on, right? And how this is the meta. We're seeing it and yada yada and all that shit. We got Hype, Lighter, and Aster as the top ones right now in terms of tokens out. So this is how I'm gaining exposure to this meta, as by buying Hype, Lighter, and Aster. At the same time, I'm farming a bunch of perp dexes, which I showed you guys too, and they are going to do airdrops. Those airdrops, you don't know which one is going to be the next big one, but it's better to have exposure to the tokens and to the airdrops. I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer. All right, so Variational is going to do its airdrop very, very soon. I think end of this year. I think Ink, Nado is going to do the airdrop for the Ink tokens very, very soon. I think there was an announcement by Kraken that they're talking about the, what do you call it? The airdrop. So you want to be exposed to that. Again, we have RiseX. RiseX is a phenomenal exchange, really, really smart team. They have really good advisors backing them up. I think RiseX is gonna be a really good airdrop, and not one that you want to just brush away. Who's backing Rise? You got Galaxy HQ. Who's Galaxy HQ? Galaxy HQ is the biggest OTC liquidity provider in crypto, and they're one of the biggest liquidity providers in crypto. So the fact of the matter is, if they're the ones backing them up, okay, in the future, who do you think is going to have very great liquidity on their exchange? It's probably going to be RiseX, and liquidity matters a lot. And they have as I said, they have a really good team, really good structure, really good marketing. So I don't want to write them off. So I'm focused really heavy on them. Another thing about NATO is self-funded. They didn't do a VC round. Another exchange, TX Flow. They have an amazing iOS app. We are entering a period where we are so fucking lucky. We have so many good exchanges going forward. We didn't have that before, guys. Like, at least in my time, I didn't have that. You had one or two exchanges and you pray you didn't wake up to a rug. Honestly. Now we have RiseX, we have Nado, we have Hyperliquid, we have Lighter, we have Aster, we have TX Flow, we have N1. These are all proper exchanges that are going to be competing with against each other. We have Variational as well. We didn't have that before. Last cycle, motherfuckers were trading on BitGet, MXC, fucking Whitebit. Like Whitebit is like, what the fuck is Whitebit, guys? Like, does anyone know what the fuck a Whitebit is? But my point is, we are being spoiled this cycle with amazing perp dexes, amazing exchanges. I actually don't feel a need to trade on a centralized exchange. I don't understand it. I still don't understand the people that trade on centralized exchanges right now. It doesn't make sense to me, because you have these decentralized exchanges with almost the same liquidity levels as decentralized exchanges. Okay, on top of that, they're not going to give you any airdrop. They're not going to give you any benefit. The fees are very competitive. There's almost no opportunity over there. But yet, you want to trade there? That again, each to their own. If you hate money, you hate money. But the name of the game, as I said, with these airdrops, they are at not only a bet on the market, not only are they a bet on Perpdex meta blowing up, but they are a hedge on your fucking losses, right? Again, look at Whitebit. Whitebit coin is an exchange token. This is an exchange token. It launched last year. Look, it was fucking. What was the? Oh fuck this market cap. This is it. This is why I'm bullish on exchange tokens, because you don't actually know which one's gonna pull a chart like this. Like Whitebit was at $3.67, right? Now we reached $72. This no, I don't know who uses it. I don't care, but I'm just saying. Again, Whitebit coin is the native utility token of Whitebit cryptocurrency exchange, and the primary asset of the White chain blockchain. Again, it's an exchange token, not only for an exchange, but for a chain. Don't be fucking retarded. Don't be fucking retarded and fade the meta just because you didn't receive your airdrop today. You gotta trust the process. You have to trust the process. Yeah, Tau is an AI coin as well. I just like the reason why I like Render, bro, is because, and by the way, I'm not saying Tau is not gonna do good. The chart looks good on Tau, for potential a great cycle, right? And it held very well on these lows. In fact, I don't really think Tau actually blew up as high as many people expected it to. So it might have a crazy cycle where it actually goes above $1,000, right? So don't be surprised by that. But yeah, if we're bullish on AI, we're seeing Anthropic is gonna do an IPO soon. We got SpaceX. We got OpenAI is probably gonna do what do you call it? IPO soon. All that money is gonna flow into them. No offense to a lot of companies, but a lot of money. I think this trend of AI, companies and projects and yada yada, I don't see why that trend is not gonna continue, right? You got Near. Near is another bet. Don't like honestly, Near. Look at it. Had this initial run up, came back down for what do you call it? Double bottom. This was this February, and right here. What if? Just what if? We don't know yet. Not confirmed. What if this is a higher low? If we can close the weekly above $3 and then prints a higher high, you will want to bid the pullback on Near. Near is another AI L1 yada yada so forth. All right. So I'm not in the boat that this meta AI meta is over. I think we are kind of underselling the importance of it. I think that is only going to continue, in my opinion. All right. What else? Now, in terms of perp flow, guys, it's honestly, during this uptrend, it has been producing amazing results. Like, for example, on Saturday, it popped. I'm still auditing it. I'm trying to improve it still. But on Saturday, it popped 311 longs. 70% of them were profitable. The average peak was 6.1%. And it caught Trump doing a 95.5% pump. This was yesterday on a Saturday. And that was during the liquidation event. So over time, we're going to see improvements there. and I can't wait to release it to you guys. But I just ask you guys for a little bit more patience. It's going to be worth it. All right. Any other questions or anything you guys want me to look over? That was pretty much the charts that I wanted to do for today. Um, but yeah, again, as we're entering this phase in the market, it's what I want to tell you guys is like it's really important that you be careful how you see yourself, right? Um, because eventually, whatever you continuously believe about yourself starts affecting how you live. So when if we are actually bottomed, if we're entering the uptrend and all that type of stuff, if you constantly tell yourself, I'm unlucky, I'm not smart enough, I'm bad with money, I always fuck things up, I can never do what that other trader or other person did, eventually what you're not realizing is you are going to live within those boundaries. Not because the universe or whatever magically decided that's who you are, but because you have already decided that's who you are before you've even tried. All right? I think people really need to be careful with that. I'm not saying to walk around thinking that you're better than everybody. That's ego. And I'm not saying don't walk around thinking you're less than everybody either. There's a middle ground that you need to achieve. You should be able to look at someone who's extremely successful and think, why couldn't I do that too? Not that could never be me. There's a difference. It's good to appreciate people's success, but don't think that you cannot do it. Think of why couldn't I do it? And how can I do it? That changes your mindset. All right? Because the second you convince yourself that something is impossible for you, you already lost. You already decided in your mind that you don't deserve this. This is not something that you will be able to achieve, and it's done. And you won't take the opportunity. You won't put yourself in that room. You won't take the risk. You won't even try long enough to find out what you're actually capable of and what you can learn from this experience. And I think this becomes especially important if we bottomed and we actually go into a bull trend, because you're gonna see a lot of stories of everyday people making it hard and yada yada, and you're gonna feel like shit because you're not there yet. But don't put yourself down. In fact, you should be happy that some people are making it, especially if it's your friends. Like I've never been the type of person that never like I want to see my friends make it. I want to see my friends become successful. I want to see my friends achieve their goals. Think about it for a second. Why would you want your friends to lose? Do you want to be in a group of losers, or do you want to be in a group of fucking winners, right? And you are the average of your circle. So if your friends are winning and they're winning hard, you will become the average of them. So you always want to be around winners, right? So you actually genuinely have to wish the success for everyone, for the universe to give you that success as well, right? So um all this type of thinking is really important for what's going to come. You have to separate, I failed at something. It's okay to fail at something, but don't call yourself a failure, because those are completely different statements. One describes an event, the other one becomes your identity. And really, this applies to trading. Having a bad month is not doesn't make you a bad trader. Making a stupid decision does not mean you're stupid. Being broke today does not mean you're destined to stay broke. Your current situation is not your identity. You got to keep that in mind. But if you keep turning temporary situations into permanent descriptions of yourself, eventually you're going to start behaving like they are true, right? And no one wants to be around that person, right? There's another side to this too. Don't build some fake image of yourself where you think you're amazing at everything. You need enough confidence to believe you can improve, but have enough humility to recognize where you suck. That's probably the healthiest balance. It's confidence says I can figure this out. Right? You need to have that confidence that I can figure this out. Humility says I still have a lot to learn. So if you can combine those two things, you'll do very well this coming cycle, because thinking too highly of yourself makes you delusional in the wrong way. Thinking too little of yourself will make you waste your potential. So be extra careful of how you talk about yourself, especially in your own head, because you hear that voice more than you hear anybody else's, right? And I always told you guys, what you tell yourself is true. No one's all right. So if you think really low of yourself, eventually it become true, right? Keep that in mind. So after enough repetition and consistency, you will start to believe it. Whether you do good things or bad things, or you think good things or you think bad things. And as I said, you don't need to believe you're better than everybody, but you just need to stop automatically believing that everybody is better than you, and honestly give yourself to a fair chance to find out what you're actually capable of. All right. So this is how I'm gonna end today's stream. It's really important that you carry this mindset going forward, especially with this uptrend. As I said, you're gonna see a lot of people make it even before you, and that's okay. Be happy for them. Actually, be happy for them, and then watch what will happen for you guys. It will be fucking amazing. All right. So I'm gonna end the stream here. It's been an hour and a half of talking. Um, Thank you for joining. We had a great last week. Let's hope we have a great week ahead where we make a fuck ton of money and we're happy. That's all that matters. We make money and we're happy. That's all that matters, guys. All right. Again, thank you for joining and have a great Sunday. Take care, everyone.